Welcome everyone to tonight's and this week's IT Bits Tonight show. Not from Berlin, but the German countryside. Testing live streaming with a super low bitrate over DSL, digital subscriber line. Let's see how this is going. We also need to hurry today a little bit because we have only one battery, because I don't have the battery replacement dongle with me. And we also charge here with a Samsung charger, the good thing about compatibility. And this is why we can just plug in some 16 or what this is, watts Samsung charger into a ThinkPad, and apparently we're really charging. Let's see. Anyway, you see here a little bit on the edge here today with on-the-go equipment. And let's see how this is going. Maybe leave me in the comments how this is right now doing in terms of image quality and stuff like that. And as usual, actually I could have prepared this slightly better from trying another stream, and the first battery died. I also really hate that Firefox is doing this resizing dance here. And as usual, while we wait for some people to tune in, we can quickly go over our stuff. We have, as usual, done here quite some stuff on YouTube this week. Let me quickly check what is here on the video list. This was, of course, the IBM 70 whatever 64 whatever something and B50 that we resurrected here from our attic and had a blast to the past with booting Linux on there and compiling latest kernel, which of course many people liked. As usual, we had here Musel stuff in the beginning of this week, also benchmarking with compiler sealing versus GCC, and also a lot of work around this, testing this, bootstrapping this, trying to figure out how this stuff works, what is the performance. And also I finally summarized more crazy microkernel ideas and things like that. And yeah, thermal pasted our Mac Mini and stuff like this. For all of those good stuff, you can check our other videos and channel. With this rage quit evening, yes. Yeah, hi Christian. So I have two batteries, and I only wanted to test the live stream settings and give a summary. I will re-stream that issue with communication skills of in the open source landscape. My battery died. I actually wanted to finish this, but maybe leave me in the comments below. We have here a totally low bitrate today over this countryside DSL line, 1 Mbit going out and 3.5% drop frames. Is the audio okay? Is the video okay? Would be good to know before we do here all the talking and without any quality going out. Also due to that, today here slightly different camera setup because on the go here and only one display and not really up to searching an HDMI cable to connect to this other display or whatever. Anyway, it's mostly a podcast there though, I guess, and you can also of course just listen to it, and otherwise questions and answers welcome and taken at any time. So if you have something to share, ask and answer, just let us know. With this, it's time to start the daily IT show. Actually, why is this? I had here this tweet. So SiFive recently taped out their RISC-V Freedom and validation platform on 7 nanometers with high bandwidth memory, 2E or something, 3.2 gigabit. Sounds obviously amazing. TSMC 180 nanometer. Why is it Freedom everywhere? Wait a second, did they not just say, here. Yeah, so these are the evolutions of the revolution, or so to say, and really nice to see what kind of high performance stuff they get out of there. Really looking forward to get some RISC-V stuff in-house here that is high performance and affordable, obviously, for even more platforms to support architectures to support with our Linux efforts here. And let's show this here. What's up with Sony there in the audience? Maybe I missed something. So yeah, high-speed interface, what do they have here? TSMC 7 nanometers, 2 gigahertz, apparently HB, so high bandwidth memory. This should probably be is this stacked or probably. Is it stacked or not? Maybe. And yeah, fun stuff. RISC-V core with vector extensions. Sounds like really nice performance. Let's hope this is coming to us sometime soon, because certainly great fan of this open instruction set architecture and those developments. And right now I'm really waiting for silicon for this MMU. By the way, is the audio okay? Still not a message in the audience. I hope it is okay. And maybe also let me know how the extremely low bitrate scales here for that. And Spain, not too good here for on the fly. Can you post this with Google Translate in English then? Not the bandwidth here to Google Translate here with this. Yeah, I prepared RISC-V in T2, so that we should be pretty good to go as soon as we have getting silicon in our hands. And I could start to run this in QEMU, but in my opinion, at least for me, I have too much here, like this good IBM, which I could also probably continue a little bit tonight, because I ideally would want, I already arsync the user lens, so you see too much stuff to take care of, and then in QEMU it's a little bit slow for me. If you have no other architecture to do, then QEMU is nice, but otherwise if you have already quite some real silicon to take care of, then I actually prefer to do this with real silicon. And of course, as usual, here more messages just when we try to live stream. So next news, and yeah, if you have something to share there, then actually I initially sorted this already, but then I had to redo all the Firefox stuff, because somehow opening this in Thunderbird resulted here in some strange Firefox that couldn't load here all the stuff. So back to the basics, I wanted to say bfloat 16, probably not many people have heard about this, because what was in the news is that Intel added support for float 16 instructions in binutils, and also the other day, like yesterday, in GCC. And what this is basically back to 16-bit architectures, like, yeah, after the C64, you name it, Amiga or something, but no, just kidding. But yeah, back to basics a little bit. Why half or double float, like 32 or 64-bit, when you can use 16-bit? Now you might wonder, why would you want to have 16-bit floating point? And the answer, as so often, is of course machine learning. When you simulate neural networks and stuff like this, and you have millions of multiplications, and your data range is rather low, like this neural network, something between 0 and 1 or something, and then like a little bit firing or something, then 16-bit precision often is enough, and this is exactly their target audience. And maybe they even write it here, essential sufficient numeric behavior in application level something, yeah, whatever. So yeah, 16-bit float coming to Intel CPUs sometime soon. I thought it's a educational fun point to mention here. Really funny when you think otherwise we go to 64, 128-bit very large instruction word, and then yeah, 16-bit floating point. If you are in this field, this might be interesting to you. And also, of course, what GPUs can do. So I think, not sure if only the latest gen, but maybe even the previous gen GPUs can also do. Maybe even AMD was earlier there. Correct me if I'm wrong, if you have insight there to that. And welcome, Danny, X-Green Thumb, welcome everyone. So yeah, new stuff there, and yeah, you see complexity in x86 can never get complicated enough. This amazingly extended instruction set, even in 2019. Obviously, I wonder in 100 years how many Frankenstein extensions we have to x86, probably, or maybe RISC-V takes over the world. Then announcing Rust, our love and hate relationship there with Rust continues. I only included this because some German news sites that shall not be named, because they were a little bit rude to me the other day, and this is why I thought I don't give them free shout outs here anymore. This is why we are here at the primary source, and they titled like alternative to cargo packaging, and I got, of course, happy and amazed here with this, because I thought finally I don't need cargo to download 100 micro dependencies. But this is here, by the way, alternative cargo registries. And this German news sites, which I will not name here for unpaid advertisement. If they don't want links posted in their comment, then I also don't give them free advertisement. It works both ways. Well done, friends over there. And yeah, this is only alternative registry, so instead of the central registry, this is why unfortunately not that amazing. It's not like you can have an alternative to cargo, just an alternative registry, so not that amazing. Otherwise, features, of course, something probably more amazing, whatever. Not really scroll through here, but if you are in stabilization, so yeah, apparently it was amazing and stable and now it's more stable or something like that. The usual news, you name it. And now I apparently clicked too much on that. Microsoft Reels, all the things it removed in the Chromium Edge browser, the recurring news theme here. We had this in the news when Microsoft switched to that, and now they of course continued working more with that. And of course they removed all kinds of Google services, because why not? And here is a list. Let's zoom in there a little bit. I hope, by the way, nobody is complaining. That probably means the audio and video is okay enough to watch. Still waiting for comments to that there, as we are streaming about some old-fashioned DSL here. So yeah, what have they removed? And there you also see, why did I include this? In general, I said in the beginning, I'm not really amazed that Microsoft is doing away with their rendering engine. Don't really think that is the best idea to base on competitive rendering engines. But what this brings us, last week we had already first patches submitted from Microsoft. So Microsoft apparently is now also helping us to make browser engine, open source browser engine better. But you also see here, this is newsworthy because this gives you quite some summary of what kind of Google services are there in Chrome that you are using, and maybe apparently as they write your services, I would expect maybe they exchange data with Google Cloud services. I would at least not be surprised, not research this, so take this with a grain of salt. Spell checking, obviously, data sync, ad blocking, link doctor, well, even as usual, Google service, I don't even know they exist. So suggest, translate, smart log, form fill, push notifications, yeah, no surprise there. Extension store, yeah, obviously, Google Now, speech input, pay, Drive API, and yeah, really not really the most biggest fan of this though, and I would rather have a browser that is just a browser without all the 100 services integrated there. But have icon service, what the heck is that doing? Anyway, you get the Google DNS. The more I look on this, the more my stomach turned over. But leave us in the comments what you think about this, and what you think about the web development. And also, yeah, I'm surfing with 500 Mbit cable in Berlin, and I'm not amazed by web performance. I'm surfing here with 16 Mbit down and 1 Mbit up on the DSL, and I'm not the most amazed. But yeah, I keep trying to mount drive as ISO and T2, but keep failing when I put the files on a second partition. As a comment in the inspector, no free disk space, I'm lost. Yeah, Danny, sorry, I will, and as soon as I'm in Berlin, by the way, I've done something. All right, I have on the train right here, I did some vintage 386 actually, yeah. But yes, this is the next thing. I will really do this EFI stuff really soon. So yeah, just some overview. I thought it's newsworthy that you get an overview what is all the Google Cloud transaction stuff doing there. And then another news site that probably in the future I should also not name, but I will now try to find primary news sources more often. Especially this other news site that was extremely not nice to me that week because shameless self-promotion. And yeah, anyway, so this news was otherwise only on some gaming news sites that I did not want to quote, and my usual live translation here. So Intel SSDs combine Optane and Flash memory. This Optane is of course this 3D crossbar memory stuff that has faster I/O performance than Flash, because Flash has a larger block size that you need to read at all times, and Optane has a even higher random access time there, having a more granular, not whole Flash page also mechanism there. But of course Optane was highly expensive until now, or still is, and this new Flash memory here has Optane as cache for QLC non-Flash. And this is of course interesting, bringing the cost down, so you have a higher IOPS there, IO operations per second, and so higher than Flash. Of course, if you have lots of transactions, not lower than pure Optane, but at least certainly more affordable. Not really sure, don't see a price here immediately, but just that you heard about this. However, here is something with some Windows drivers, whatever, and they also don't only want to sell it to OEMs or something, but yeah, maybe also should mute here our stuff for Reddit news updates there with some stupid flame wars. And yeah, this stuff is coming, cheaper stuff. Not really sure, it was something with a driver. So as usual with Windows, you might need a special driver to make most performance. Not the greatest fan out of that, but maybe I misinterpreted there. Some RST driver is needed, so I'm not really sure about this part, how this affects Linux use, but yeah, your mileage may vary, and leave in the comments below if you have more insight, knowledge, or whatever. And welcome Joe Farrell here, or something like this. So, and other news, no surprise there, antivirus usually makes Windows less secure, higher attack or larger compute, cloud base here, trusted compute base, and this of course more lines of buggy code, and of course opening zip files, RAR files, you name it. And then here's the latest recurring theme of Windows updates. Of course, how should it be differently? Antivirus conflicting with Microsoft updates. I think rendering the stuff unbootable or something. But in general, what I've seen, not the greatest, but I'm thankful to run Linux obviously, but otherwise what I've seen, not the greatest fan of third-party antivirus and extracting zip, RAR, 7-zip and whatnot, you name it, and torrent zip and whatnot, and then all the other popular Office formats and whatnot, all the complexity. You can probably imagine what kind of code is needed and how many things can go wrong, and yeah, then you get new security vulnerabilities just by running antivirus. But yeah, you probably need to run something on Windows, but maybe not third party. And this is that probably Microsoft, well, at least Microsoft quality, pro and contra, but at least they know their shit a little bit, and I have the feeling a little bit better than the third-party antivirus manufacturers. Comments in the audience. Danny writes more, just off Turkey, can you make auto partitioning available in T2? Hopefully I'm not too demanding. So you mean like option to just wipe the whole hard drive and install there, or on a well, actually you don't really need to do there so much, but yeah, we could probably. And the good thing is I made this already a little bit nicer, the startup there, and we will continue to do so. And this is recurring but shameless self-promotion, what we need more subscribers and likes and sharing and whatnot here, because I ideally, as I always said, would want to spend more time here with nice vintage things and newer things and stuff, but this obviously only work with more reviewers. Maybe I even tonight continue finalizing the latest T2 on there, because we're not on the IBM Power PC. Not sure if problem is I go back to Berlin with train, otherwise I might have even carried that or drove it home, but on a train I have already camera and packs and whatnot, maybe not. Also I have already 2 nice keyboards to take home, so but yeah, now we get off of our new segment here. Maybe I should not take completely random questions only at the end, especially as we need to hurry here with the battery level. And yeah, ACM here is some authority for consumer markets in Netherlands, what we have been waiting for. I said it often enough, made already a couple of videos. Not the greatest fan of Apple's App Store business. We are personally affected. I'm not a great fan at all. Not a fan that they take 30% from us. Not a fan that they review it and reject it for random reasons. And also, by the way, I think in the initial iPhone, on top of all the nonsense, I think at least back in the day, I've not checked this recently, but back in the day it was written in the App Store contract terms and conditions that you are not allowed to make software similar to Apple's services, I think. So theoretically, this would mean you would not be allowed to make a music app, a phone app, a maps app. But of course, somehow this, not really sure if they removed this, but initially I'm pretty sure they had some kind of non-compete clause in there, which is there. So yeah, whatever. And yeah, they investigate this, of course, for exactly that reason, unfair terms that, for example, Apple Music, Apple themselves, they don't need to pay themselves or only accounts this internally, and Spotify and others, what was the other, Flutter, and was it Flutter or something like that, they, or Radio and whatnot, they basically need to give Apple 30% of this income unless they don't have this option there, which of course usually they would want for ease of usability, but yeah, a lot of hairy points there, and not an easy thing. And in general, I will make a although I made already quite some App Store videos, I will make an entirely different video that is not as Apple bashing, but general smartphone thing in a week or two. Different. I hope you enjoy that we have here some hardware tinkering, some soldering, some repair, and some general discussions of stuff. And today I try to go a little bit further through. I think everything is set to this topic, and otherwise maybe we ramble a little bit more at the end for those people who want the news summary a little bit more abbreviated here. Then we have here Dragonblood vulnerability disclosed in Wi-Fi WPA3 standard. For those who have not heard this yet, I find it a little bit funny personally that nowadays all the security vulnerabilities get funny marketing names. Dragonblood. Maybe I should have named my distribution Dragonblood or something like that. But anyway, so new security vulnerability there, and not yet researched the details here how serious it is. But I think I read somewhere in some kind of summary somewhere that you could probably crack keys or something, downgrade attack to downgrade to previous standards or something, and then insecure password exchange, whatever, so to older and more insecure. And yeah, apparently sounds as usual quite bad. Not yet sure how this is affected in praxis. Cache-based side channel attack, CVE. You see it here. I hope nobody complained in the audience, so I actually hope the quality is okay over this optimal DSL line here. Comments in the audience, and then 1 to 3 is Apple has always been really unfair. I got banned for helping people recover data on their community forums here. Just the usual Louis Rossmann story for all of you who probably knew him. And I have no problems here to do promotion to people like Louis Rossmann and such. I mean, not like other news sites that delete my comments for pointing to Microsoft Touch flaws there, because deleting comments for marketing, what marketing is it to my channel, pointing out people that Microsoft Touch screens have issues. But yeah, I hope probably with this DSL, Danny, I guess it helps that we have a relatively static picture here. Maybe I should also live stream then in Berlin. But by the way, I opened a support ticket there at Vodafone Cable. We have, for those who are new, we have 500 Mbit cable, 500 down, 50 Mbit up. Recently upgraded, things got worse, and they replied. First they opened the ticket, and then some technician replied that they know that they have throughput issues there, some things like that already since February, so that they don't have an ETA how to upgrade and whatnot. So right now I unfortunately have to live with this a little bit, but yeah, so much to shared cable. And shared Wi-Fi. Speaking of shared, of course, shared medium radio frequency in the air there. And yep, so Wi-Fi. But this is also why, funny thing is, I actually plugged in here some Ethernet, because Wi-Fi was in the attic here, actually, attic in the roof. Wi-Fi was not the most amazing thing, and somehow it, not yet sure if this is a Intel, because this also shameless promotion here. Lenovo sends this over also this week. A little bit shout out to not paid advertisement, but really thankful to Lenovo to support our small and thankfully growing channel here with some review unit without any strings attached. But so not yet sure about this Intel Wi-Fi, because that performance was not the most amazing, but for that We have here some nice tubes in the wall that I even helped installing as a child, and amazing Ethernet cable, because nothing better than some nice Cat 5 here. So yeah, good to have some electronic savvy father here who has some good old Cat 5 in the walls. Amazing stuff, can totally recommend it. Also less security vulnerabilities, total fan of wired Ethernet also in our office, certainly totally amazing for moving tons of data, can totally recommend it. Thumbs up for wires here. And next news is why tons of thousands of perfectly good donated iPhones are shredded every year, so much to the recurring news of Apple being unfair. What I also made videos already, glued in batteries, glued in everything, and also intentionally bricked batteries that we also hacked the other week and unlocked the firmware and set some permanently okay again bit. And why do they do this? A single electronics recycler has had to destroy 66,000 iPhones in the last 3 years because of iPhone's activation lock. And of course, on Twitter or somewhere, people already chimed in as usual. It's for the security and they want this. They totally support this. I don't support this, and I agree with stolen iPhones. It's a little bit annoying, and that a thief could unlock it. But I wanted to add what I also said probably on Twitter or some forum somewhere, that of course you could do this if you have some certificate, if you are a recycling company, that you have real certificate of e-waste recycling stuff to get those things unlocked, or at least send it over to independent repair people, sell them off as spare parts. Certainly everything is better than this. And in my opinion, if you have some kind of certificate that it's not stolen but rightly purchased or something, in my opinion, Apple should unlock this. And with unlock, I mean actually they, in my opinion, it would be okay to factory reset them. Of course, they should not get the photos and emails of previous owners, but in my opinion, remote factory reset or remote via cable of iTunes or whatnot, certainly everything is better than shredding them. And so much also my recurring shout out here, Apple glues in batteries. They brick batteries, like my battery, intentionally bricked with low voltage. They are safety voltage, and then they call themselves a green company when they have recyclers, or yeah, probably these are recyclers, have 66,000 iPhones shredded for no good reason when all the parts are perfectly fine otherwise. We can only support this. This is also why I started to do this YouTube channel, to share here tinkering, educate, show you fun Unix goodness, vintage stuff, and new programming and stuff like this, and also have companies accountable of not the most amazing stuff they do and shredding this kind of electronics. By the way, also shout out, and that's nice to hear, Annan, that you really enjoy our reviews and stuff. Thank you very much, really nice to hear. I try to put here as much as effort and time that I have, actually not that much free, but try to invest here as much as I can to grow this channel. By the way, today I successfully auctioned on eBay a Voodoo card for our, I mentioned it already multiple times already, 3 months going, finding a not 100 or 80 or something bucks Voodoo card for more vintage programming. And also I wanted to say with this recycling, there was this iPhones like this IBM B50 here from the attic that I thankfully got for free, also from other people who actually I said this in the video, and I have also no problem, not like people who criticize me there on Reddit for, in my opinion, no good reasons. The last 20 years I did not any huge promotion here, because people on Reddit called me here some shameless self-promotion dude here who knows nothing and only tinkers stuff together, and I should better use Debian. But in my opinion, I had already the problem a decade ago. If you only use Debian, you do not know how things work, and I also want to show how things work. And I like to do this, and chances also, first of all, SGI Optane does not work with Debian, PS3 does not work with Debian, and it does not really motivate me when people, for 20 years I was sitting in my student corner, in my office corner, and doing my stuff without shameless self-promotion. This is probably why T2 is not as big as Debian, and now I start a YouTube channel to spread here some nice videos of vintage tinkering, repair, and educational programming and reviews, a little bit more programmer, computer scientist, and such reviews, and people call me out for shameless self-promotion. Thank you very much for that. For someone who contributed patches all over the open source landscape, from Linux kernel, GCC, Chrome, GIMP, Firefox, and everything in between, back and forth, up and down, even died libc and whatnot. So, and exact image, among other things, if not GSMP for sound manipulation. But my point is, do not throw this kind of machines away. Also, do not build this with PC motherboards. Give it to people who enjoy vintage machines, who like to tinker with them just for the fun of it, or who cannot afford other machines to start with. And I got this, and again, no problem calling names here, thankfully to Clifford Wolf, founder of Rock Linux, and exactly for this kind of PowerPC stuff. And really thankful always. This is what allowed me to work on all these architectures, because as a student 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I could not afford spending my non-existing student loan money there on hardware, even on top of spending all my time tinkering with this and fixing the Linux kernel, GCC, glibc, you name it. And don't throw it away, give it to people. And if you know open source people, give it to them for free, not sell it for profit on eBay, because when people already donate all their time, then it's really annoying to spend even more money on hardware to work on. And I have still actually in Berlin an Ultra 5 and Hewlett HPA. Only 2 were picked up, and yeah, still 2 to give away, but don't really want to spend money shipping them around, and as such, this is why I pick up or where I drive to. So, coming to the end of this live stream already. This week was a little bit hectic and busy, but we still have a little bit of stuff to talk about. And then we could also, in theory, continue chatting here as long as the battery lasts, because today we run out of battery here. The 2019 Stack Overflow Developer Survey results are in. You might want to scroll over this if you are interested in the open source or developer. Actually, this is not only open source, but also general developer. Here are tons of data points for languages, and we have taken past year, where is it even previously I sent data sheets from, where is even full report are here. And as usual, I will post all the links in the what is it even called here, the comments there below, the summary comments thing there below the video. And I should probably, as usual, have loaded this earlier, if this loads here even or not. And yeah, tons of stuff to go through there. What kind of languages are preferred, what tools people use, and now it's not loading. Maybe go back there in a minute. Then we had another live stream, lengthy discussions about basic income, and here was some new study that at least the basic income experiment in Finland, the recipients are more happier and more secure. In my opinion, a quite good outcome. I said this already in a previous live stream. Maybe we don't make it such a long discussion below today. I said, as a business owner, I was entrepreneur here in Germany. I was initially not the most fan of this, but after thinking, because I thought people who work always earn some money or something, a little bit naive, and as many people have this opinion, but I quickly switched after just a week or two. I switched over to, I would totally love it now, even as an entrepreneur here, business owner and such, because in my opinion it would simplify the whole landscape. I will not talk long about this today. Like give it to everyone and scrap all the social programs, student support and whatnot. Everyone just gets this and they can do whatever they want. We have the problem anyway that we will have more automation and whatnot, and tons of problems in the future. So just allow people to do whatever they like, study, make music, do open source, whatever. Build houses in the woods or not, whatever they want to do, contribute to the society in what way ever they. And in my opinion, people always do only more if they, like here, they are more happy and more secure. Maybe they also start a business, do open source, do research, whatever, all the fun stuff you can do, or restore vintage stuff, or built-in repair shop for iPhones or whatnot, and things like this. There's so much stuff to do from all kinds of, from the whole spectrum of things. And yeah, not the long discussions today, because we had a long discussion in another live stream. Maybe we can make this another live stream again, just that you know here some results are in, and no more and no less likely to be employed than members of control group. but they were happier in their lives and experienced less stress. No surprise there, and so on and so on. And yeah, maybe leave in the comments below what you think, but maybe kept for another live stream. In other social news, by the way, what is this Stack Overflow stuff here? Not loading or what? So much to that, but should have preloaded this. Are we even still live streaming, or is here nothing even going out? Anyway, in other sad news, sea levels are rising, and one question here in the news was time to build floating cities. Interesting idea, really fun times we live in. Apparently big changes to come, whether it's basic income, automation, or rising sea levels, climate change, you name it. Just spreading here a little bit awareness. I hope this doesn't hurt. Next week will be more IT stuff to come, and maybe even tonight. I would also live stream working on the IBM, but the problem is the post times kill it really for live stream. Always waiting 2 minutes here for a boot or something and such. And yeah, nice keyboard. This keyboard is also from the attic. In retrospect, I actually wonder why I put it there. Probably why, because it had PS2, but I will take it now back to Berlin. Also this keyboard, so this is Cherry something. I will make a dedicated review. Now I need to be careful not to press here a button on the ThinkPad. Maybe I should have actually brought a glass of wine up here to the roof. Where is now the screwdriver? I had here a screwdriver before. Where did I put the screwdriver? Apparently far away. Because I forgot what. Can I use this pen maybe to press a key out here? Ah, this came out. Ah, so this is black. MX black, and I have to say I like this keyboard quite a lot. I have another keyboard there, but I will make a dedicated video back in Berlin. I will probably drive them both. Where do I have the other one? I can pick it up 1 second. Oh, this was loud. Sorry for headphone users. Oops, that was some static shock. Is it still running? Apparently. So this is similar. This might be nearly my first keyboard or something. When I built my first own Pentium 120, this might be my second keyboard. Probably I was mostly satisfied with this one because this one is really nice, I have to say. And for those recurring viewers, you noticed I brought a 10 keyless MX Brown. That is quite nice, that we use in Berlin. And I was hoping that I would find our first 80 keyboards there, whatever that was for 386, but somehow this is not there anymore. No idea, maybe thrown away, unfortunately. And this one here is, then this is USB, the other is PS2. So this is more like my second keyboard with, of course, USB 1 back in the day was new. And this is MX White, both linear or something. And I think correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the major difference is that that one has maybe an actuation force of 50 something Newton and this 65 or something. And I don't like this brown here. Maybe this is why I also didn't got, not brown, a white, natural white or something. And this really types mushy. Maybe this is also why I mean, beside it has USB 1, but otherwise why I put it on the attic or left it here or something, because probably I was not satisfied with this, and maybe not use your parents' office pen here, but whatever, they probably don't follow this live stream. And yeah, so this is white, natural white, or what this was from back in the day, and this I find too mushy and too heavy. I don't like typing this. I've somehow not really good memories to this. I mean, not that I would remember this too much. Also, I mean, fun thing, I sprayed here this Windows key with probably some silver wheel paint or something, like rim paint from a car or something. So because I didn't want to see the Windows logo on this, but somehow this is, I think, too mushy for me. And also not always really sure if I press the keys. And this MX Black is slightly 10 Newton or something less. Or what's this? Oh, it's plugged into the IBM, obviously. And this has Linux took key, so this was in 1999 or something, when you could start to order keyboards with Tux keycap there. And this for sure I will take to Berlin now. Not really sure with the other. Maybe the other not, because the other is simply not as amazing. Can you also focus here, or maybe it doesn't like to focus on keyboards, but come on, can you not do it a little bit? Maybe not, whatever, you get the idea. More dedicated video coming to this. Yep, that is a quick rush here. I also rushed here more through, actually the battery still survives. Maybe I could continue my ramblings then over open source developer friendliness on my secondary channel. Shameless self-promotion plug there. If you want to see more live tinkering stuff, random stuff from me, then you can also subscribe to my second, more live streaming random bits and pieces, and then follow more of random tinkering if you're into this. And what else we have here? Keyboards. I use Gentoo. Right, someone, I of course not, I use T2, but someone audience in 123 is using Gentoo. Rethink, no. Think what I know, not sure what your distro is or what. So yeah, T2 here. Thanks Danny for posting this. Yes, we still have a full battery. Fun fact, T2 was only an interim name when we forked there from Rock Linux. I was actually stable release maintainer, one of the major contributors. Fun fact also, back in the first days of Rock Linux, I came to Rock Linux in 1998-ish there, when Rock Linux was relatively new. And the people who did Rock Linux, Clifford Wolf and some friends and family there, they were a little bit more in Unix. Not really, I've not discussed it with them, so I'm only speculating here that maybe they were in kind of family situations with surrounding people where people just had this Unix stuff. I here in the countryside of Germany simply was not. And the fun stuff is because I was on the verge of doing my own distribution in 1998, because I didn't like Debian, was a total piece of crap. Unfortunately, I have to say it was even worse back in the day, was completely pain. It was even for me as turbo assembler and turbo Pascal capable programmer and DOS and Windows fluid user, extremely hard to get installed in 1996 or something on the CDs from magazines. And then we brought SUSE, or first on the magazine SUSE was okay. Then we probably even brought SUSE 6 or 7 or whatever that was there in 1996, or SUSE 4, probably even CDs somewhere here. Anyway, so, and then it was okayish but not amazing. And I had some ideas how to do this, and then I accidentally somehow found Rock Linux, maybe even in a Linux magazine article or something. And it was exactly how I thought. This is amazing, built from source and lightweight and readable and everything scripted together. Totally amazing. And I just had some stuff missing, like maybe Emacs or X-Emacs and IceVM and maybe even some NFS. Maybe even NFS was not working. And then I got into because I was not even, well, I was 16 and Linux was new and I was new to Unix. We had to learn everything from scratch there with a friend. It was total hard without that much internet and stuff. And the people, I sent some fixes to Rock Linux, like packaged X-Emacs and fixed NFS. There was some KNFS or something maybe, or whatever it was there or something. I sent some like maybe 7 patches or packages and nobody responded for a week or 2 or 3. And by the way, mind you, time of analog modems, right? We were online here with a V90 modem, 56 kbit or whatever that was. And then I thought, okay, if nobody responds and nobody's interested in my patches, then I just rename it. I renamed Rock Linux to Desktop Rock Linux. I thought, okay, these guys are simply not interested. They do their server stuff, whatever. Then I just add my desktop stuff, and this is how actually initially I've run Desktop Rock Linux and more all the desktop packages, and then I added GNOME and KDE and tons of other stuff. And to a point, this was really funny. I think, as far as I remember, that even Clifford Wolf, the creator and maintainer and such of Rock Linux, I think he even installed Desktop Rock Linux at his father's PC, I think, when I visited him. It was really a surprise to me. But then we agreed that this makes no sense, that we maintain, friends of mine and such, we maintain this separately. This is how I actually became stable release maintainer Rock Linux in Rock Linux 1.4 times for Rock Linux 2 or something. and we rewrote everything recently. I took a look into the sources again, tried to find stuff, and we rewrote everything for Linux 2, much more flexible and readable, and yeah, fun times. I also actually did most of the cross-compile stuff, I would say, and I also did a lot of actually Spark and PowerPC were started by others, Stefan Körner and maybe Clifford Wolf himself and others, but I over the time have kept maintaining and doing most of this stuff, and then eventually, because I wanted to go more professional, and people at Rock Linux, contributors, constantly kept doing a little bit too much regressions than I wanted, and they also wanted to rewrite more stuff. I was really tired of rewriting. I just wanted to keep the stuff working and maintaining and support it professionally, like in IBM or SGI kind of way. And this is actually how, and and embedded stuff. I wanted this really industrial, like mission critical, carrier grade and automotive embedded and like really bulletproof working kind of stable way. And this is why we forked then T2, because we were tired of this ever-changing open sourceness. And Rock Linux, the rest is history. T2 survived and Rock Linux does unfortunately not exist anymore. And because we have not done so much shameless self-promotion over the last decade, T2, we had already more people. We had, at some point, we had 20 active people. The last years it became a little bit more silent, but even from my side, I kept mostly maintaining embedded and server stuff and virtual server stuff, and not doing so much desktop stuff. KDE and GNOME not much updated, as seen in the live streams here recently. Hey, this stuff loaded, by the way. We could go over this in a minute. But yeah, just some fun stuff here. And what I wanted to say is actually T2 was a placeholder name. T2 was the name for try 2, like T2, like try 2 or a second try. And just that we already had the domain and used the name all over. And then we just said, okay, doesn't really matter. Just keep the name there for a second try 2 system development environment, whatever. Anyway, I hope you like this fun fact and blast from the past. Clifford Wolf, of course, today is maybe it was even good for Clifford Wolf. Maybe it freed a lot of time for him, because nowadays he is the famous FPGA reverse engineering guy there. He wrote all the open source FPGA toolchain, all the bitstream reverse engineering and FPGA compiling, routing and stuff, formal verification. And he even has, I think he has written himself the Pico RISC-V, and we will also continue this. Easton already indicated, Easton Piotr from FPGA from Icebreaker Frame, who recently also joined a live stream there some 2 weeks ago. They have this amazing product that I already, a project that I maybe, if internet works right now, let's see, Icebreaker, does it load or not? We could do here some unpaid promotion of open source stuff. Icebreaker FPGA, let's see if this loads right now or not. And there was some, was it this one? Let's see what loads here. This was some crowdfunding, and Piotr already indicated that he, GitHub organization, GitHub channel, what? That he will probably try to get us here some prototype board or something. And then we will definitely play with FPGAs here on this channel for all this fun stuff. You probably want to share, like, and subscribe. Here, by the way, was something crowd supply. Here is something. And just to spread you some general awareness, it probably should be this one, if I'm not mistaken, to give you some friends and family some shout out of information of what kind of stuff exists. This is a affordable open source FPGA board here, and that is, as Piotr said here on our live stream comments, they've chosen it and designed it so, together with Clifford Wolf apparently, that you can load a Pico RISC-V, RISC-V 32-bit in there, but of course the MMU-less edition that doesn't run Linux probably, but at least some low-level embedded stuff, obviously. And comments in the audience. I think these are classic MX switches here. I think it is mushy because, but well, the funny thing is, when I brought the MX Brown, in Berlin. If you have not seen this video, you could go there a week or two back there. This is very nice. This was black, right? I think it's mushy because this other has 10 Newton something higher activation force, and maybe it's maybe that is mostly the thing. And also, yeah, maybe I'm also not simply a fan of linear. I think I like tactile. Of course, I said immediately that I would love more tactile. The brown, as many reviewers say, are not the most tactile, unfortunately. I also immediately, yeah, this tactile is a little bit scratching, but I'm okay. Because this tactile brown were the first time I had this tactile brown. I was on Apple scissor things last years, mostly as seen on most of my earlier videos and stuff, and which actually not the most bad, but actually my father has here a keyboard, maybe that is actually a membrane, an even cheaper one. I have not opened this here, but here is another one of his PC thing here. This actually, no, this doesn't feel too bad either. I think it's not membrane either, but at his garage soldering thing, here's another, I think there it felt membrane. Anyway, you see, nice things to have an electronic centered household, that you have here a place with a keyboard and display, and not some Apple fanboys with butterfly keyboards and glued-in batteries. At least one thing I don't need to service here. So yeah, FPGA stuff hopefully coming, and yeah, I don't want to pressure Piotr here. If you see this is just yeah, would be really amazing to share you some open source work and promotion and tinkering that is coming, and we can take here a look. And by the way, if you want to order this, it's only $69. The only problem is, of course, here's worldwide shipping, $16 as usual. And as I made a video, don't mind customs. Could be that you need to pay some customs on this, unfortunately, but otherwise totally amazing stuff we are living in, not unlike the Reddit people who are sometimes a little bit flame warring and trolling me for not working on Debian, but my own one-man apparently source distribution that nobody should care about. You name it. This developer site's also loaded in the meantime, and we could actually scroll over this, no idea, but maybe this is also Node.js and whatnot, all the magic of overloaded DSL line, and this is only a Core i5 ThinkPad here. And what do we see here? Key results. Do we have something interesting? Monthly stack, Overflow, widgets, professional developers, type. So full stack. So you have your full stack back and front end, mobile, you name it. So most are actually more than 51%, but actually, so you could probably multiple choice here, right? What do we have here? Developer, QA, engineer data, educator, engineer, site reliability. Interesting stuff. And what else? Contribute. And by the way, this is probably what I wanted. I started this other live channel here where I probably could continue this other alternative live stream rumbling in a minute, because some people often here on YouTube and Reddit criticize me for doing some shameless self-promotion, and in my opinion, I have for 20 years not done any shameless self-promotion. I was totally silent here doing our stuff. Most people don't even know me due to this, although I contributed all over the place. And now I make some YouTube videos and people tell me here I'm here some shameless self-promotion stuff and vaporware and whatnot, whatever you want to call it. But there you see, contributing to open source, 36% never, less than once a year, 28% and such. And my whole life, 20 years, I was new to Linux. I contributed to GIMP. I wrote scanner drivers, sane scanner drivers, a huge backend supporting over 200 scanners, sent fixes to the Linux kernel even when I was 16 and such. And then people call me here out for doing shameless self-promotion of others people's work and I do nothing. When you see here, most people contribute never or less than once a year, and I contribute every day, and they call me out here. I find this really unfair. Maybe I will continue this set thing there. And there you see, I fixed here a headphone. All the Realtek codecs were broken. I sat here down with a digital scope and debugged the Realtek codec. It's still not in the mainline kernel because people rejected this. I should write it differently, but not really motivated in time to write it differently. It works for me. And if people from SUSE and Red Hat don't want to rewrite it, then it's their challenge. My headphone works here. And yeah, fun stuff here. And if you're interested in such kind of data like this is probably enough for this live stream. We could actually continue some ramblings there of people flame warring me there, which I find really unfair. By the way, I'm already not known. I earn nearly no money with open source, which I made also videos about. And then I start a YouTube channel. I see other people doing vintage stuff. I think my vintage stuff here is a nice contribution to this. I even promote here other people, Louis Rossman, Phil's Computer Lab, and Easton and whatnot. And then some people hate me here for doing something on YouTube, which I find really unfair, when in my whole life I earned less than a couple of months income with open source, and I want to do more good to the whole open source stuff and build here. And I said it even multiple times, my vision is here, it would be amazing if we would have some Linus Tech Tips kind of, our Tech Tips kind of open source channel, where we can even pay multiple people to do open source work, hack on C libraries, kernels, drivers, vintage stuff, new stuff, you name it. And then people create such a bad atmosphere and call me here on a, yeah, kind of halfway a liar, or whatever you even want to nearly call it. Thanks for the donation. That is amazing stuff. This was not even what I meant to say here, but I can also, when we already call this out here on this channel, I actually only started to live stream this on my secondary channel because I wanted to test you the setup, because I am on the go with on battery and USB dongle galore stuff, and did not wanted to start our news call out here on non-tested stuff. This is why I pre-tested this. And yeah, we have here this blast from the past, and I started the other channel. Its video is still there if you want to call it. Of course, I even started to say I'm totally thankful. And by the way, I already stopped this. When my channel was new, I posted more often. My first Reddit account was already banned there. Probably should not say this, because according to the terms and conditions, it's not allowed to post from another new account there. But what should I do? And already don't do this anymore, only once a year or something. It's probably the nearly first or second time this year, because I can only sustain this when we really reach 100,000 subscribers. Yes, ambitious goal, but I want to do more open source stuff, and I have otherwise few opportunities to fund this low level work. And I said already, I'm totally thankful that 483 people upvoted this here, but then came my usual Debian friend here, and as I said in the channel, I knew precisely who it is, and ironically even from Berlin. And why do people need to be ugly to each other? I really, I will make even more dedicated videos about this, like Louis Rossman rumbling here some philosophy lessons. I'm also not, well, except maybe saying I didn't like Debian, but that's it. Do I tell Debian people they should stop Debian? No. Do I tell Gentoo people to stop Debian? No. Use Gentoo if you like it, and let's share patches and work and stuff. If I totally admit that T2 does not have as fine-grained dependency resolution as Gentoo, I totally admit this. T2 is more an expert system, mostly for building embedded targets, and of course you can use it on the desktop and server, and I enjoy to use it. This is, by the way, T2 obviously, and if you like it or not, I don't basically care. I have not dropped it in everyone's nose the last 20 years. And why do people here do this? Well, if you decide, because someone said mighty awful lot of steps to go through to get this booted. Yes, and then someone writes here with this IBM B50 here on the desk. And well, if you decide to do everything from scratch, then yes, and lots of steps, you could just install Debian. The image I am creating, of course, shameless self-promotion of this Debian work, whatever. And this is not the point. I saw the Gentoo people picked up exactly this boot glue. When you look on Gentoo forums, and I have just Googled this the other day, you find their post of people, hey, the Rock Linux people here and there. And yes, I have figured this out in 2000, or maybe Clifford and others. And it was because back in the day, it was super difficult to figure out all this booting. I was probably messing the better half of 2 weeks to get here ISOs out of this booting or something. And then yes, it is wired up in T2. This should boot. As far as I remember, at one point of time it was booting. The problem is probably that, as I said, the kernel is getting too big. This boot and Open Firmware can only boot kernels up to 4 megabyte or whatever it is here. Not yet really sure what's going on. And this is the only reason why on this particular machine our T2 ISOs don't boot, because simply the default kernel became bigger and 5 or 6 megabyte kernels simply don't boot. It boots on my G4, it boots on my G5, it boots on maybe even back in the time this once upon a time, but again, this is not the most popular machine. And why do people need to make our stuff so back? And this person did this already. This is already the 5th time that he's doing this, always in a very prominent manner. And why do they need to do this? Can they not be happy that I promote here Linux, that I show them some vintage stuff that I kept around and keep maintaining, and for the people to enjoy? I even give away machines. I give away 2 Ultra 5 and 2 Hewlett-Packard PA RISC that I also got for free from others. And why should I keep all this stuff? I don't want to keep this 2 times or 3 times. I only need 1 of those machines. And I don't do this. I've never done this. I've only done this with Windows and Mac OS, which are big companies that don't get their act together and do peak bugs and crashing unstable stuff. And then also the point is, this was in the attic for a decade. I had to remember all this stuff. I cannot keep everything in the back of my mind. And the new kernel could also be, I did not even know, is this a regression? That's a 5.0 kernel in the meantime after over a decade doesn't boot at all. Why is it not booting? I have no idea. Is it a kernel config? Is it a regression? How even was it to boot this? Because I have not touched it in 15 years or something. And I just wanted to document all the stuff. How is it to work with some IBM servers? How is it with Open Firmware? It's maybe the first time I myself looked into the system management firmware thing there. And then next step is to use grub to boot CD images. And by the way, T2 is even doing this. Maybe Debian is not even using grub there. I already converted our T2 images there. And where is this? Because one was even longer. Maybe he deleted it already in the meantime. Maybe, or why is it not here? Or is this plus? Maybe, here's something. I already called him because I'm really sensitive with this already. Our Debian is already famous, our T2 is already not the most famous. And then when some people like something, why do people immediately need to rule it down? And he even called it here somewhere one-man distribution. Why do we need to? It was at some point a 30 people distribution, and time changes and things change. People move in and on in life. And where is it even here? And what I don't like about your style is your lack of community work. I donated, by the way, I would have been millionaire if I would not have done all the open source. If I would only done commercial software, maybe I would be as rich as this Bezos or Bill Gates or something. But I thought we make, as a community, the world a better place. When I was 16, I was writing a GSMP multi-track sound studio. I was doing a Linux distribution. Why does he need to call me out of this? And by the way, he is at a university in Berlin. I'm not sure if he is employed there. Maybe he is a professor. I don't know what precisely, or a technician. I don't know what precisely he is there. But as far as I know, I think he is at a university. He is getting paid maybe partially to do this stuff. I am not. I built all this stuff up from next to nothing. Why does he need to? What is the lack of my community contributing patches for 2 decades? Nobody often usually did not pay me for this. I spent all my university time day and night, often not going to lectures because it was more interesting to tinker with Linux and stuff. And this is not enough community. What does he want? That I live in a tent and do even more for no income? And I don't understand this. And can you not just be happy that I show PowerPC stuff and stuff like this, and mailing list he doesn't see. Yes, because you don't see my name there anymore, because 20 years ago my name was there more, but I don't need to discuss everything with people. I send the patches in there. I don't have simply the time to discuss things. Where should I get the time to discuss and rub my opinion under people's nose? And The main purpose is just to improve open source code and not to show off. I mean, what I for 20 years have not shown off, and now I think with all the YouTubers, I think it's a nice open source contribution to help spreading the world of open source and such not. And then this is not allowed. I really don't get this kind of negativity, and things like this is really at this kind of messages. I always wonder if it's such a good idea that I put so much time and efforts into open source for 20 years, sitting here as not the most rich guy on earth. Maybe I really question, by the way, this is a really question, was this the right choice in my life to dedicate so much time of my life? And what else do you want to dedicate this 20 years? And as you see, with the success of T2, it is not the most known or Rock Linux. Yes, because we were sitting there and getting the code done and not doing PRs. The reason is simply we were not PR people. Oh, by the way, somewhere he wrote there, people from IBM maintain this. Does this make Debian better because people from IBM maintain it, but it still doesn't support old stuff? Or it's really sad. Yeah, but again, thanks for this super chat donation there, much appreciated. And what are people complaining about? First time here. Joe Fish, yeah, welcome. It's just, so this is our weekly news show, and at the end we usually just continue rambling a little bit. People just, of course, 400 or something people like this Reddit post. This is just, yeah. Anyway, that uses, so Opinion discarded got an old RS6000 that uses which precisely of this common hardware reference platform thing do you have? Actually, by the way, maybe in Berlin I have even I have another board. As I said, I have a couple of mobiles. And by the way, why do I have this? Because people were tired of this. It was at the day already slow. The only thing is, it maybe when I got this, it had the most memory. And by the way, back in the day, I thought it has 768 megabyte. Now I just recollecting this here, I found it has 1 gigabyte. And by the way, 1 gigabyte, yes, 1 gigabyte, 1024 megabyte. And I got the latest Linux kernel booted here already, at least partially, not yet with, well, actually it can mount the root file system, but then I don't have a terminal output because it's not using defs anymore. Back in the day we were using defs, so all the device path names are not correct or not matching. And with Linux 5, it actually sees the whole gigabyte of memory. So back in the day it was even 2003, 4, something like that. It might have even be a system with nearly the most memory I had, just that the CPU was not the most fast. I had probably had at least 600 megahertz Athlon, or maybe even something partially, or even maybe an iBook. Maybe I had a 700-800 megahertz iBook or something. But I probably seeing the files on this, I don't really remember. I remember a lot, but I can't remember each detail of my student life there, working day and night on open source and such. But given this, I must have run this quite long time as a server, so maybe router and file server and such, given the kind of files that are still on there. And then I stored it in the attic here because I didn't have that much space in Berlin. And the reason I have all this, you may wonder, am I so rich? So first of all, I collected most of these machines because I was simply interested, and most people have thrown them away. So I got this from Clifford. Maybe he wanted to motivate me with Rock Linux, and probably he also didn't use it much anymore, and then he thought if he does not use it because of performance and whatnot, and he had other machines, then he can also pass it on to someone who really appreciates it. And this is also how I got other machines from people like the SparkStation. But of course, even the SparkStation 2 that I made videos for those people who are new, only 40 megahertz, I think. Back in the day when I got this in 2005 or something, or 2004, something like that, it was already super slow. You know, I had this 375 megahertz and other machines like my regular x86 workstation and stuff. And then I got a 40 megahertz SparkStation 2, and obviously even I only got this as collector's item in 2004, and other people simply didn't care. It was recycling, electric trash, kind of whatever, and and this was even through Rock Linux. So the SparkStation 2 I also got from someone from Rock Linux, normal hobby programmer or IT student guy there, and he had it and they have thrown it away, and he said, here, I've thrown this away. This is also the SparkStation IP export I got from, I think I got from the same and maybe even the Ultra 30 or something, it was all to be thrown away. It was slow piece of junk for them, and I was the one among, of course there were others, but I was the one who said, oh, I have here some space in my student loft there, and student apartment thing, and you can put it here in the corner, and maybe one day I switch it on and try Rock Linux and fix something or whatnot. And of course I often can't leave it alone, so I even shortly tinkered with this and even got something barely booting, but the problem was it didn't have much memory. It had only 16 or so megabyte or something like that, and it was even painful to install Linux in 2005 or something. And then I thought, okay, fine, it theoretically boots, but it's not useful for me anymore. So I just put it on the shelf and left it there for over a decade, 12 years or something, for then finally taking the challenge on YouTube and trying to get something working there. By the way, speaking of this amazing Debian people, support for the Sun, whatever that was, Sun for C or something, for the initial Spark station, unfortunately removed from the Linux kernel, so we can't boot something newer than around 3 point something, but maybe challenge accepted one day. Either we port our microkernel test code or bring this Linux code back to life and resubmit it if I feel lucky enough for that. Just some random story time and tinkering here, and that you get here some more background here and stuff. And but the point is also, don't throw the stuff away. Just give it here to friends and family or whatever. Sell it on eBay. Is still better. Don't throw this piece of history away, in my opinion. Even if you only switch it on, like, of course I cannot switch all the machines I have on each and every week, but once a year or something, going through some T2 testing and stuff. And yeah, so let's see, comments in the audience. Really want to get 5 on it too. So what exactly do you have? So yeah, I might have a prep board. So this is common reference, common hardware reference platform. The other was Portable Power something. And unfortunately they have, what I also don't like with the Linux kernel, it was broken for a year or two and then they just deleted. Can they not just really leave this 1,000 line of code there? It was actually not that much that they have removed for prep for this other power reference something, whatever that was standing for. And I have another PowerPC board that I think I even briefly switched on when I took it, because I didn't even had many of this vintage stuff. I have not even had in Berlin for moving around after university, founding company. Even I did not have space for all this vintage stuff. I'm not that much of a hoarder. So when my parents were there with a Volkswagen bus there, then I just loaded it full with all this vintage stuff and had them store them in their bigger house here in the countryside, in the basement and attic here. And this is where the IBM B50 was, and also even the second SGI Optane board was here, and a lot of all the old PC. I didn't had all the vintage retro PC 200, 100, 486, 386. I didn't have this in Berlin. I had this here in the attic. Half of the stuff was not even from me. It was, for example, the AMD Socket 7 board was from my brother. The 1386 board was our very first one my father purchased in 1986 or something. Unfortunately, the battery leaked, still have not repaired this. I sold it a little bit, still need to finish measuring around there and repairing it, because it's beeping but not yet booting. And another 486 board is from, I know my father took out of a recycling container already 15 years ago. He basically never used it. He just saw it in a recycling container, took it out, put it in the attic, and this is how I have this collection of other 486 and such boards. And they were just here, and I took it. I basically only took it for YouTube vintage tinkering and showing this and education and reference stuff. So yeah, only for this YouTube stuff I brought it back to Berlin. And yeah, 45p 170. Actually, this sounds similar to this one. It could actually be that it could. No, I think 43. Only with another friend from Rock Linux time, and there you see by the connection with all the people. Am I enemy like the Debian people with them? No. Still friends on chatting on Twitter and such, and they have a life and they moved on, and nobody has their hard feelings. You fork something because you want to do something different, and then one thing is successful or not that successful even, and the other one not. And as I said, maybe it was even much more fulfilling and developing for Clifford Wolf with his FPGA stuff. And the other one from Rock Linux on Twitter told me, by the way, just the other day, maybe this B50 has the audio stuff because it's the same board like the workstation model. There's a workstation 43P or something is, what do you write there, 43 versus 44? So because one is the identical workstation model with the exact same logic board than the server. I think this is probably the only reason why the server has the audio ports there. He rightfully pointed out. I had actually the set thing I said this already, I think in the video or somewhere else. I had the 43P, although I think it was probably slower, only some whatever 200 something megahertz. And the sad thing is that I don't find it anymore. I don't know where this 43P went there. I was actually a little bit sad already that I have no recollection, but maybe I gave it to someone, or maybe a friend or family somewhere, no idea. But since I figured out that this is the same logic board like in the server for the desktop, no, I'm already not as sad anymore, because I don't, as I said, I don't need everything duplicate and 3 times and such. So now that I know, I'm already relieved that at least I did not lose something of such a value or something, because I basically have the same infrastructure, the same architecture, the same firmware and the same board. Only the desktop thing in a case here might have been a little bit more compact to carry around. This 19-inch 2U form factor is not the most comfortable for me, but yeah, whatever. I got it for free, I still have it, it's a nice machine, doesn't matter too much. So what do we have in the audience? 0.7 drop frames, 33, 333, 43p, yeah, so because I think 43p is what I had, wherever that is, maybe one day I find it, or if someone of the Rock Linux friends and family has it from me, then would be interesting to hear from you, that I at least know where it ended up. But that's probably it for today. A lot of random rambling here and storytelling at the end. I hope you enjoyed it. Maybe I join my parents for another glass of wine then. Don't forget to share, like and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed and learned something. And as usual, leave us in the comments below what you like and dislike. And any interest in T3-1 shell? The shell you mean, do you mean a Sun T3? The problem is, where are you located? Are you located in, do I have the video? Why do I probably accidentally have the video running here? Shell, not that much interested. Are you in Europe, Germany, or States, or? It's because the problem, so I have, as I said already, I don't want to hoard so much. My office already is too full in the meantime, but I have planned, so as much as this motivates me reading this kind of Debian comments there on Reddit, I find this really unfriendly and it really hurts my feelings. Maybe I'm too sensitive, but after, the problem is also we tried so many things the last 20 years, and a lot of things were of course not so successful, starting from multi-track studio software to embedded stuff. And as I made this video, it is extremely hard to make a living out of open source and stuff, and then people fight even each other there in this open source way like this. This is really sad, in my opinion, totally unnecessary. Why do people need to do this? And then they call out community work, and they are so unfriendly to each other. I really don't get it. And yeah, whatever. Fun fact is, here's I mentioned this maybe, here's a mini-disk project. I sent this patch in there, and even in GitHub it passed this stupid automated integration testing there, and they did not apply this for 1 year, and only I reminded with this other flame war, I reminded there, by the way, what is with this patch there from me that you have never applied in a year's time, so much to not seeing my patches all over the world. And I even sent him a patch there for this mini-disk project. So contact info, my site. Okay, I check this in later. But the case I probably not the most interesting because I don't have the hardware going in there. And theoretically I have someone from Rogue Linux times who wanted to donate more Spark hardware, but he was a little bit busy in his life, or so to say. And I wanted to pick up there some stuff, not yet really sure what he would want to give away there. Did I play this video again? What is up with this continuing? And so I theoretically could maybe get some more Spark stuff, maybe some more old and more new. Not really sure what's, but I don't also want to pressure these people if they have other things going on. I'm not the person who always like, by the way, the stuff you want to give me and so on. So yeah, if this comes, then it comes. If not, then not. I'm looking forward to Easton's, Piotr Easton's FPGA stuff there. This will be fun. I just auctioned this Voodoo card. We will do 3D programming, of course, testing this with a game, and then 3D programming low level just for the sake of it, educational, just like the S3 Verge stuff. And so much to the Debian. Back in the day, even here on this, the X server does not work, and I often fix like this cursor, even the cursor. I mean, funny enough, this cursor is a huge area there, huge distance off by whatever, and I fix this in the Rage 128 driver a couple of times for the Mac machines. And here, so much to the amazing maintenance. The console is garbled after starting the X driver. The mouse system's mouse here didn't work. Here with this X3 thing, and then maybe the memory is misdetected. If someone in the comments in the audience is right that this card has 8 megabytes, then it's even misdetected because X detects 2. I would love to test the latest Xorg driver and even fix there something. What also makes me really sad, by the way, speaking about sad things, I'm really sad that so many people always need to delete code. Why did they had totally not a fan that they had to delete the 3D support for this MGA Matrox card there in Mesa? Because back in the day I have a couple of Matrox cards from not only mine, because also from some friends and family, because I recommended it to everyone because it just worked amazingly on Linux. And this is why I ended up, after they recycled their machines after 5 years or something, I now have like 5 or so of this similar Matrox cards, PC cards in the office. And the 3D support was, of course, one of the most amazing, I think, back at maybe the only high performance, until ATI came later, and maybe except Voodoo or something. And it is really sad that they have deleted this in Mesa. If I would be the project author, maintainer or something, I would actually not do this. I would keep this around. And as I said in the other video, maybe my time is better spent. There are a lot of 1000 open source distributions in Linux, and maybe my time is really better spent doing this low level, really showing people how to program this stuff for the Matrox, also for the Voodoo, and really writing a microkernel for the fun and education, and maybe something totally amazing comes out of this. Not sure if I have enough time. This is why we do these YouTube videos, to gather enough audience to do amazing research and development, what otherwise few people would finance. And maybe microkernel is my destiny. Maybe, and this is also why I wonder, I said this in the other video, maybe in the B50 video I said this, maybe my time is better spent, instead of bringing this Matrox card back to Mesa, that they will fully delete it. And seriously, is this so much work maintaining this? This code was there, the documentation is there. Was this really necessary to delete? In my opinion, back in the day there was even from Alan Cox, who forward ported the S3 Verge code for 3D acceleration to Mesa. If they would not had to delete this, we would have even vintage first generation 3D stuff for Verge. Makes me really wonder. And this is so many people, and what makes me sad is so many people, other people, even at one point John Carmack there of, is it John Carmack? Whatever, Carmack, maybe not the best with names here, from ID software fame, who did maybe Voodoo and maybe even NVIDIA Riva drivers for X3 in Utah GLX before Mesa GLX there. And so many people put so many years of work contributing code, and then people just delete this in the name of maintainability. In my opinion, maybe it would have been much better for vintage fun and documentation to just keep it around, compiling and if something is broken and bit rotten, then it's just easier to fix this one small glitch there that might be there, like in which this one, then bringing all the deleted code back, and without all the knowledge of the API changes in the meantime to forward port everything, and of course much more in nightmare than if the main project maintainer and coordinator, who when they make an API change, to just SED over everything, and even if they break something and cause bit rot, it's better still to have the code in there than to delete it entirely. But yeah, this is what I said, maybe my time is better spent instead of bringing, because this support for 3D is deleted in Mesa right now, maybe I should rather do a completely new 3D stack, starting with this vintage stuff and maybe one day ending in AMD or PS3 Riva. I even have probably like my brothers, because I didn't have an NVIDIA card. I have an NVIDIA card in the office, maybe even two from back in the day, some TNT something. Maybe I even try to do low-level bare metal code with that, from inspiring there from what John Carmack from ID Software documented there in Utah GLX. The code is, the source is still out there on SourceForge or something. So yeah, a lot of background information here. I hope you enjoyed this. USA, yeah, this is a little bit far to ship. Although I will be in Canada in next month. I will be in Canada. If someone wants to meet up there, I will be in Toronto for nearly a week, just in case. Remote access, you mean? Yeah, the problem is I'm already relatively busy, and but thank you very much for the offer. The problem is I'm already relatively busy, so I'm not really into spending more time with remote access testing T2 stuff when, well, I have a Spark, although it's not the most fast, and then I would rather do RISC-V low-level stuff for maybe a microkernel or an alternative 3D stack, because obviously Mesa has probably deleted fixed function infrastructure, maybe entirely, maybe not. So maybe better doing more creative stuff instead of always hunting others people regressions and deleted code or something. And yeah, my time is also, I already spent way more time trying to build up this channel than I probably should. But thank you very much appreciated. Maybe one day I come back to remote access, but until then I still have even, I think, on the Ultra 30, but maybe you try it, and I will probably soon, I should get a more regular T2 release schedule going again, and then I will also test the Ultra 30 or what this was again, because that one had oopsing the floppy access. Oops, by the way, this floppy doesn't work. Maybe it just needs some oil and grease or something. I think it didn't work. It would be nice to get this black front bezel thing there working again, because not so many black floppy drives here matching, but otherwise you could probably swap this out with another standard PC floppy, but maybe some oil is enough or something. And yeah, so already a little bit too busy with all of the other projects I have there, and then it's always a little bit nicer to the touch to have something locally and tinker around. Theoretically, there was also Electronic Ash who wanted me to measure voltages in the SG Optane. Maybe we should still do this another day or something. And yeah, RISC-V, of course. And yeah, the Ultra 30, not only the floppy was oopsing, so much to the amazing testing and whatnot in others, and also the sound wasn't working. And I tested, the sound was working, ALSA's driver were working on the Ultra 5, and I really wonder, the Ultra 30 has a special driver for some Sun specific thing, and the Ultra 5 had a more PC regular crystal something. So, and because normally you would think it's like bit rotten and nobody ever tested sound on Spark, but it was working on the Ultra 5 and not working on the Ultra 30, and on the Ultra 30 it was erroring out on the same, of course, on the same T2 install ISO thing, and it was erroring out with unsupported IOCTL something. So still a lot of stuff to fix there. More comments in the audience. Can you get access to serial console over? Yeah, maybe I come back to this for some high performance Spark stuff. Maybe, of course, also with YouTube and your donations. Again, thank you very much for this super chat donation. Totally motivates me here. And of course, as I said, no, I just reacted here because I thought the camera is falling over here. Of course, even I'm not even making profit. I said this, I make right now $3. It didn't change the last week, still like $3 a day. Not one to whine here, of course, highly appreciated. Why do I say this? I say this because I'm not even making profit right now with the YouTube channel, because I effectively spend more money, thankfully, from my company. So of course, shameless self-promotion plug to my Exacode company for having the financial backing. Maybe I should always have more Exacode advertising reference there for my regular business having so much financial backing that we can just buy some lenses, some microphones, some tripods, some various cables and dongles, and test stuff, and also the Voodoo, of course, the 3DFX Voodoo for vintage stuff and things like this. And maybe even I was looking on some Sun already. Maybe there are some T2 or something, T2000 for just 200 something maybe. The problem is, of course, I'm not using this every day, and just for some YouTube video right now it doesn't really make sense to buy this for just one YouTube video. But yeah, time will show. Of course, I could just get, but again, I have theoretically someone from Rock Linux background back in the day who would want to get rid of some of their Sun Spark recycling stockpile. Generally, if upstream are wanting to remove stuff, you just get either run your own incompatible fork, or you jet and all run out versions, unfortunately. Yeah, this is also the thing. People call me out for not contributing more stuff, but then I sent Realtek headphone jack here for this kind of Realtek ThinkPad from the other year, and people say it's not, I should rewrite it, it's not clean enough. Well, it were only a handful of lines setting there some codec bits, but in my opinion, if people are paid at SUSE and Red Hat, they could, I already figure them out which bit this is to set, and they could really rediff this in their way to hook it up. But again, because I really spent already hours on the digital scope and stuff and specification, and nobody pays me for this, and then the patch is not accepted so much too, you don't see my name often enough. Thank you very much. I also have other things. And by the way, should I, when I was bootstrapping Sealang and Musel, should I write to the Musel and Sealang ministers, hello, I'm helpless, I don't get the stuff to build? No. Or hello, I'm this is T2, shameless self-promotion, can someone help me to get this bootstrap? No, I read the source, I get to the base of what is going on there. I don't need to spend, because if I write emails, my time is gone writing emails, and otherwise I can, as computer scientist, just analyze what is going on there to fix it. So don't need to post on mailing list all the time. So yeah. And with removal, there's also the others. There is also one more person, I forgot the name, Bryce or something, Bryce Computer Lab or so, Vintage Lab or whatever, who is maintaining, maintaining old vintage VR and now other like Rage or something, X drivers, and he now maintains an older Xorg version. And what is slightly sad or so, I would say, is I would probably have chosen an even older Xorg version, because in this Xorg server he has picked from 2 or 3 years ago, they already removed the acceleration architecture for 2D acceleration, the regular old-fashioned XR, the X acceleration architecture, and because that is what you need for solid line drawings like Breathenham lines and pattern fillets and such, this kind of stuff that I've shown there on our channel for programming with the vintage cards. And it probably would have been really nice to have this vintage Xorg server around for this kind of old-fashioned 2D accelerators, because now he has chosen, at least for now, a version where this already was removed. So yeah, and this is also, what do you have? I could shout out some shots with my DSLR, and you could just remote with loud fins if you ever want to place fast Sparkbox. Yeah, we could for sure another month and live stream do this. Maybe the problem is now I have done so much random things like Sealang or Clang and Musel and stuff. For example, some of my Clang Sealang bits broke a little bit building regular GCC, glibc configuration. So the danger is, of course, always I add new options and stuff, and then I, of course, even myself, because all the combinations and stuff, and always need to keep things in mind and test and so on. I could even live stream the loud fans here. Maybe does it have a microphone? Maybe it could itself pick up the ambient noise. Anyway, yeah, I need this T2. I've done this last year, but somehow with all the overhead, because this is why the last weeks also have done more live streams, because live streams I just press live stream, and as long as we don't have too many drop frames, actually right now with this low bitrate, surprisingly well here over DSL, only 972, 0.6 drop frames with only 1.2.5 Mbit here. We could actually, and we should actually do more T2 releases, maybe even more automated, and spin it out every quarter or something and test them more regularly, because in the meantime, but the problem is also, again, regressions. And by the way, there you see the people who excuse me, nobody else in the last 5 years or so has fixed the PowerPC AGP issue. All my Macs, like the G4 Cube, don't have working X because the GPU locks up with whatever is going on in the AGP, Advanced Graphic Port Programming there. And I could also try to figure that out next, but it probably also takes a whole weekend to debug through all the bits and pieces there. And the sad thing is, my Cube with a Rage, no, this is not, I have also a Rage for this, but I upgraded this to a Radeon 750 or something. And back in the day, it had working 3D acceleration, and they just broke it upstream with all the refactoring and kernel mode setting and whatnot. And yeah, and I should then, not being backed with Fedora, Red Hat, SUSE, Debian and whatnot, IBM, spent my time also debugging this. So yeah, this point is, of course, I have enough other machines that it was not a priority. I just continue working on my G5 or my other ThinkPad or whatever then, and not debug this AGP issue. But this is why I thought it might be a nice concept here. And yeah, thank you everyone for subscribing. Of course, the IBM machine with a promotion link on Reddit brought a couple of new subscribers. Much appreciated. Everyone is welcome. Actually, we still celebrate each and every new subscriber here. Completely amazing otherwise. And yeah, this would be, I shared it already multiple times, the vision, having here this YouTube audience, documentation and education, and showing here some machines and such, and using this as means to work on all the stuff that I have in the back of my mind, but otherwise could not really do, because I already do a lot of stuff, but eventually the resources are infinite. And yeah, would of course be fun to fix whatever matrox there, check the latest X server, bring back 3D, fix the Cube AGP and stuff broken, floppy, oops, and sound on the Ultra 30 and such. And once upon the time, the Ultra 30, it has a Creator 3D. There was even slightly accelerated 3D stuff on the Creator 3D that also was removed in Mesa because nobody upstream cared. Like Red Hat said, it's unnecessary, superfluous nonsense. So there we have it. Anyway, this live stream got slightly longer than I wanted, surprisingly. Not only the battery lasted, but also the DSL was better than I expected, at least. I hope maybe I will watch it tomorrow again to see what kind of refresh rate here we get. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Shameless, non-paid promotional plug to ThinkPads. Amazing stuff. Thank you again for Lenovo providing us with this loan unit for this month. Much appreciated. Of course, with no strings attached, but as we have it already here, so in view, I can also do a unpaid call out here. Totally nice of this kind of companies sending this over for our small channel, unlike Huawei MateBooks who did not want to do this. So yeah, maybe also not good enough then. And does other work well enough on T2 that it doesn't crackle? Well, in general, yes. I don't have live streams in general. It's just Alza, and I even not only fixed, so right now T2 is maybe the only distribution who has this headphone jack with correct frequency response range. T2 is also the only distribution who right now has this 8-channel ADAT PCIe RME. I sent it already, by the way, so much to reading my name. I already send it. Not only did I, by the way, at this location, I even asked my a little bit known kind of, if I want to call him like this friend at SUSE, who is ALSA maintainer, Takashi, and I even asked him, hey, this RME, because I was really puzzled. And once upon a time I asked there, hey, by the way, don't really understand why this card is not working. The driver is there, but doesn't really do much for me and such. Didn't get much of a reply there, maybe one, but maybe I sent 3 or 4 emails, only got 1 reply. Then I debugged this live on YouTube, got it more working than not. Already sent this patch, and so much too, you have not seen my main name there. Even sent in my initial proof of concept patch there, and to this Takashi even replied so much to this. Thank you very much, Debian fans. You made my day. Thank you for causing here fuzzy feelings on a Sunday. Much appreciated. This patch is already sent out, was already sent out, and I will send it out again. I will also, by the way, another, this RME32, Digi32 aided 8-channel card. I still need to continue with that one because I only have playback working. Still need to figure out what's wrong with capture. And yeah, so much time. Also, by the way, I want to show how much time this takes, not only getting this vintage machine to work, but also hunting regressions, looking there into the memory mapped I/O region, reading source, and trying to find specs and whatnot. My Steinberg is broken, and what? Nice, my Steinberg is broken on Void Linux. No, I don't under what do my Steinberg? Is it Steinberg some music equipment thing? Anyway, we wanted to end this live stream because it was already too long. Totally appreciated this discussion as usual. This is why we usually hang here around much longer than we initially plan. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something. Thanks for tuning in. Is this MIDI or Firewire? Maybe Firewire interface, huh? Anyway, yeah, this is also why I think, by the way, as usual, now we have the most watching people in the audience as usual, just when we want to call it a day already. But 14 people, amazing stuff. I can continue my sentence, and with 14 people watching, and all of you are highly appreciated here and celebrated, I will toast a wine glass on you all, on all of your health and recurring visitors in a moment. And to finish that sort, this is why I think my microkernel stuff might be amazing, because I mean, not only that it will be tons of work and it will take years of this week and time of working on this, but as I said already, my plan is now that I will probably make a repository of this kind of drivers, what I've already started. This DOS low-level card, and by Luke, if you go, or stay a second anyway, by everyone, if we, I mean, it's of course funny with this, I could of course continue talking here all the night with 15 people, most watching than in the entire live stream. But so my plan is of course not to write a microkernel from scratch in the next days, but I will continue what I've already done. We have Sound Blaster, we have VGA, we have S3 Verge and ET4000 and Cyrus and whatnot. And I will, like similar to the Linux kernel, make a directory tree with drivers and make there like C++ more readable, like minimal, not like full featured, but minimal, most important minimally working features like line drawing, Sound Blaster, playback capture and stuff, maybe even an OPL2 and 3 tracker another day, and then gradually involve this into some microkernel demo and maybe even keep the DOS stuff working so that we have like some documentation code base, like keep it stupid simple, maybe not the highest performance, but at least like working, minimally working demonstration examples of IDE, of SCSI, of Serial ATA, of like AHCI, NVMe, and like readable code, like readable, not like fancy C++ code, but like embedded C++ code of what you would use in a kernel, and use this as documentation, like not like in Mesa where people delete everything, but build there some like Rosetta Stone of minimally universally usable drivers that you can, many of them maybe even use on vintage retro DOS gaming demos like Sound Blaster, and even in the microkernel, like trying to bring up there some API or ABI that can be not only used in a secure microkernel setup, but also some DOS examples, and uses as a means to document all the Matrox and ATI and NVIDIA stuff in a minimally documentation readable fashion there. That is probably the way I will go, because right now, and maybe I even ask my brother if he has enough time to write some proposal to some EU funding. Maybe we could theoretically even try to sell some super hyper secure multi-server microkernel stuff for the next generation of tamper-proof and Secret Service, National Security Agency proof microkernel stuff. And anyway, but not really a fan of writing this kind of funding proposals, because usually they are declined, and not really, my time is probably, in my opinion, usually better spent on just coding stuff and not writing stupid business proposals or funding proposals, because in my opinion 99% of they never went through. So yeah, this is why slow and steadily and Voodoo Next I auctioned this today, and let's see what we get there. Hopefully it works, and if not, then not, but hopefully it does. And yeah, that's really it for today now. Thank you, Raymond, for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this. And yeah, maybe we go back to, I think the more live streams in a week were not the most successful format. I think, although some people liked it, like Danny, right? Thanks for giving us thumbs up. But maybe most people prefer pre-edited video stuff here. So maybe weekly, weekend live stream, maybe sometimes in between when there's something important. Otherwise, pre-edited videos is maybe the formula that looks to be the most important, most well received, I guess, right now. And yeah, again, I will be in Toronto next month if someone wants to hang out or share a beer or something, and is either in Canada, Toronto, or close by or whatever. So yeah, until then, thanks for watching. Hope you learned something. Have a good Sunday evening, night, or day. Hope to see you soon, and stay awesome and such. And yeah, that's it for today.